Welcome everybody. In this coaching session, I'm going to explain to you guys how to climb as assassins step by step. I'm going to talk about the general game plan, how we want to lane, how we want the team fight, and especially how we want to play out the mid game, because that is sometimes a little bit of a bit more tricky part for assassin players. Insanely valuable coaching session. If you have any questions, let me know down below in the comments. Enjoy, boys. Great. So since it's your first session, man, give me a little bit of an introduction of who you are as a player, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and what can I help you with? What are your goals?
I mainly only play assassins. I like Echo a lot. I've mainly just tried to one-trick him. I have a secondary question later that I wanted to ask, but my strengths are just fighting. I've never been coached or anything. I've only gotten to Plat and Emerald strictly by beating my mid laner so hard that I just carry the game. And
Classic.
yeah, so like macro is a little low, I think, is the problem. And sometimes if I'm not strong enough, I don't really know what to do after that and like how to carry a game.
Okay, great. Really clear, man. That's a very classic way of joining the program. A lot of players like you. You said you had a question. You want to get it out of the way right now, or is it like a specific gameplay oriented question? What's going on there?
Yeah. It's really just I've joined like a competitive team, so it's, I guess the question is like, when climbing, I should just keep playing Echo, because I mean, when we play competitive, I have like almost a mill mastery, so it's banned every game anyway. Yeah, so it's not like I'll ever play it in competitive, but just how champ pool should work if you know I'm playing or trying to rank or like other stuff like that.
Yeah, really good question, dude. So competitive is really fun, right? Playing with the boys, playing with a team. That's always amazing to do, and it's really fun to also win in there. But you want to view it kind of in a long-term fashion, right? How are those guys, but also yourself, of course, going to get the most value from you as a player? Is it from you expanding your champion pool, or from you becoming a better player to begin with, right? Very simple. It's you becoming a better player will be way more worth for everyone involved to... In the longer run. So you should definitely not spread out your pool in solo queue. You should separate it. Have your solo queue pool, which is then maybe Echo +1. And then you've got your comp pool, in which that you're practicing and scrimming different type of champions. And then what we're going to do in these sessions is we're specifically going to look at your solo queue games. We're going to improve you as a solo queue player. I'm going to give you solo queue oriented learning objectives. And eventually the skills that you learn here, it's really easy to translate into comp.
Okay.
Fantastic. Any follow-up questions or any other things on your mind in this regard?
No, I think that's it.
Awesome, man.
For now.
Great. Let's get it cracking here. So, 1,000,000 points on Echo. Big old Echo player. That's fantastic. I see you're running a nice little aggressive setup. You're playing versus Xerath. What's your plan? What do you want to do?
I think Xerath is a pretty easy matchup. So I think I can beat him early, and then I just want to try to see if I can progress my lead on the rest of the map.
Okay, great. Let's see how we do that. Looks like Xerath is currently a little bit of AFK, which is good for us. We get a nice bit of early pressure here. We hit some extra minions over him. The moment he doesn't show up, right, I would always just level Q. And the thing you got to keep in mind is that Echo really likes wave states that are either in neutral or on his side. Because those types of wave states you can actually threaten the enemy on, right? Because you can threaten the jump. If the wave state's stuck right here, immediately should be like alerting you, get this out of this wave state, and the way that we do this is with a double Q rotation. 2 Qs, casters, clear the wave. Okay, you do actually get a pretty decent Q off onto the Xerath where you hit him. Only problem is that we can't use our E effectively because we simply cannot jump onto him. I like what you did with the E there, where you use your E reactively. That is something that you have a very easy time doing, because that way you can use a little bit of mana. E doesn't cost that much mana. Echo spells in general don't cost that much mana. And you actually take a lot of his mana. And it's pretty worth in that regard. Okay. I like your movement. I like where you're standing slightly outside of the wave. I also like that you're threatening a jump, which is really good. Yeah, I really like the idea here. The only problem that I have with this is that we're dropping a cannon ourselves, right? So the mindset you want to have whenever you're laning, trading is fantastic and all, but do it at times when you've already lost hit your creep. Getting the CS is more important. Nice movement, great linear movement towards his skill shot. I really like your posturing as well. It's very good. It's extremely good posturing. Very nice positioning in the lane here. One thing you could do is, let's talk about our first ward, right? My first ward if I do not get push prio, I always try to place at level 1 at the enemy raptors, because that's going to give my entire team information of where the enemy jungle is going to go. If I do not get that angle, level 1, I always try to get it out after wave 2. But that's like when I'm going to try to get my ward out so I can lean, I can give my entire team some info. And in the end, it does work out because Trundle got a nice little ward here, quite deep onto his very interesting push timer. And that made it work, but it's a little bit inconsistent. I would always try to get my own ward out like that.
Okay.
Not too bad. I like what you do here. You deny him a lot of means with that. He's got TP. And it looks like we eventually need a bit of a base ourselves as well. What's probably the best way of going about this? Probably the best way of going about this is actually just resetting right now. Because if you reset without clearing these minions, it's going to push into you. And you're actually not going to... He's actually going to lose more minions than you. But in the end, I think that because you have Ignite and he's got TP, what you probably should do is keep your HP up and not cancel his base here and then extend the lane a little bit. Or maybe what we could even do is early push, hard push this wave, because this is wave 5. And the next wave is a cannon wave, which is of course easy to then reset on. So we, instead of freezing onto him, we kind of force him to stay in lane by pushing the wave, putting pressure onto him, and then we can take a reset before him. In that sense, we're not going to miss that many minions because we have a reset after a push out. That's a little bit more powerful.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Great. I might be talking a lot of terms or a lot of things where it goes a little bit too fast for you. You don't quite understand. If that's the case, because you might just be a quick learner, you might just see it. Just tell me, okay? I happily explain it for you.
Yeah, no worries. So is like pushing, so the option of pushing is only because he has TP?
Correct. So let's talk about what we're trying to achieve in the lane, right? What we're trying to achieve in lane is lane control. What does lane control mean? Lane control basically means I have the ability to move first to other place before my enemy lane opponent does. If he resets right now and we don't base, we're cooked, right? Because we're too low. We can't trade, we can't contest him, he's got free scaling, he always has first move. So we need to find a reset in this position. If you go a little bit earlier here, or a little bit later actually, where we regen up, this is a spot where you could argue, okay, you know, we can potentially stay, but if he comes back and he spends his gold on items and we do not, and he's got a refillable potion, Amtone refill, he's just in control for the next couple of minutes. So the way that we want to prepare our reset is by resetting in such a way that we can keep trading onto this guy and we don't lose control of the lane. Make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Great stuff. Hence is why I would change slightly the way to approach the wave. And you see that with this specific reset, I think you lost like 4 minions, 3 melees and a cannon. Of course, that's not the end of the world, but it's much better if we don't lose those, of course. Okay, new wave comes in. So the ideal wave state that I like to have is if this wave state slightly comes into us here, where we can thin it out, and then we can slightly hold it onto our side. So what we see is that this wave is a little bit too large for comfort, right? We want the wave to be slightly stacked up right here, where we can like hold it. We don't have to like full freeze, but the hold is strong. Because that way we can threaten extended trades onto the longer lane, which is something that he can't really deal with. So I like this Q. What I would have liked even more is if you threw it out even earlier, because you see that there's a massive advantage on his minions right now. If we can just Q these minions in this angle, we don't hit the melees, we hit a few casters, we don't kill all the casters, we kill this one, maybe this one, doesn't really matter. But that way we thin out the wave, and it's easier for us to hold the wave on our side. I'm going to show you a great example here.
Okay.
So I come back from a reset right now. I barely just came back. And the first thing that I do is I make sure that this wave slowly pushes into me, and I want it not to be too big, so I can hold it in this spot. And holding it in this spot is completely overpowered because it makes it really easy for me to then fight trading angles onto him. So you see what I do is I use my Q. He now tries to crash the wave, of course. So I then use my Q to thin it out. And then I use my W also to thin it out as well. So he kind of is forced backwards. And I try to keep the wave in this position. You see that I try to keep that minion alive. The longer I keep that wave there, the harder it is for him to play. Let's see if we can find some more angles here. Because I turn back from base. He pushes me in. I want this wave to be in a position where I can hold it. And then I can threaten him, make it hard for him to crash. So what's the first thing I do? Is I Q this minion wave right now. 2 minions alive. I keep 1 alive. I make sure it doesn't crash. And now he's cooked. Because he's forced to reset. but the wave is close towards my side. So if he resets, he's going to lose way more minions because I kept that one extra cost to minion alive. And that forces him to just lose a lot of minions. And the wave is long on my side, so I can immediately trade around my WEQ. We thin out the wave again. We keep trading. And he's cooked with this wave state. Unplayable.
So it's more of like a CS advantage than a kill advantage.
What do you mean with that?
Like you're not really getting ahead by getting a kill. You're getting ahead by getting more CS.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. Killing enemies is basically you forcing so much pressure onto them that basically makes them suicide. That's how solo kills become consistent. You can't really brute force a solo kill onto the enemies. It's about forcing them into a really uncomfortable position so that they are trying to get out of that position, and that leads them to then make the mistake.
Okay,
That's the way we go about it on mid. Because the lane's so short. This is pretty good here. I like your positioning once again. It's nice and deep. Yeah, you're constantly threatening a trade. Very powerful. Would be good to get a little bit of vision out. Even if it's just a slight ward to the side, it's already going to give us a lot of information. So after you kill this cannon, you can maybe chuck up in here, place a ward in there. A general rule of thumb is you never want to have 2 wards available in your slot. You'll always want to get one out so that the next one starts recharging.
Okay.
Okay, nice kill. Well done, mate. Great W, great combo. Great reset. Love it. Beautiful buy as well. Let's see what we're going to be doing right now. What's going through your mind as Echo right now? What do you want to do?
Well, I ran 2 drag because all of this that's happening, and then saw that it was not working out, so I just went back mid to catch the wave.
Okay, great.
But I wanted to go for drag.
Great. I like that. So we as Echo, we're a very strong skirmisher right now. So we are really happy taking fights. But we do want to be skirmishing on our terms. We don't want to be skirmishing at times when it's not good for us. So what we find here is that playing for Drake is fantastic. The only problem is that Xerath got first move to Drake before us. Remember what I talked about with lane control? Your job as a mid laner is to move first to place before your enemy lane opponent, right?
Yeah.
So how did this happen? Question mark. The reason this happened is because we turned around our priorities. What we initially did is we went to the Drake when nothing was happening so that we're late to catching this wave, which allowed Xerath a move timer to then come in because we were occupied with the wave. If you turn this around and you don't immediately move towards Dragon, but you rather move to mid here, what you can do is you can just Q the wave. You got a lot of AP, so you almost one-shot it, and you can then prevent Xerath from moving by blocking off this choke point here. And you can do that because you have control of the wave and you can drag the wave down on the lane right here. Make sense?
Okay.
If you do that, this entire play is godlike. It will work out. You literally win the game on the spot here because you're of your massive mid-gap advantage here.
Okay.
Okay. So this is exactly how we should have then done it the other way around. So this was great play. I like that you don't brute force and use your flash here. This is quite good because we can play on our next rotation. Great. We're hitting plates. That's totally fine. Push the next wave. We do a bit of scanning on bot. Looks pretty good, dude. I like it a lot. W a little bit too early, a little bit too shallow. But we got a double kill. Oh man, this game is... It's Jover, man. It's Jover. Okay, what's going through your mind here? What do you see? What do you want to do?
So this is kind of where I fall off a little bit after like early game. After getting kills and whatever, it's really just at this point, usually when I'm playing, it's just to go back, see if I can get a kill. And if I can't, then I just roam again.
Okay.
Or just seeing if there's like a drag or one of the objectives up. And then I can push a wave and try to sit on it or get some vision and see if I can get a pick beforehand.
Okay, good. I like that. It's not a bad thought process. So let's streamline this a little bit, okay? Our champion wins through winning fights. So we want to be looking for fights. That's what our champ does really well. Who is usually the guys that force the fights? Jungle and sub. But in this case, we've got a brand sub. So especially look at what your jungle is going to be doing. See if you can complement him. We currently have the option of hard pushing each wave, or we can decide to slow play the waves and pressure the isolated lane a little bit more. Depending on what your jungle is doing and what's actually going on in the game in regards to the neutral objectives, we want to then make the distinction between either hard pushing or slow pushing. Slow pushing basically means I'm going to try to threaten the Xerath. Hard pushing means there's something happening on the map and I need to be present right now and get priority for it. Currently, we see that we are taking the grubbies, and that means that I would be pushing the wave. In this case, we already secured the grubbies, so it's good that we collapse onto the Xerath here. Absolutely fantastic. Love it. We get another kill. We don't use sums for that. That's amazing. We hard push the wave, which is great. And we get a little bit of damage off onto the plate. Fantastic. So what do you see happening right now on the map?
Bot dying and top getting pushed, mid even.
Okay, great. Do we need to be anywhere right now on the map? Are we fighting something?
No, no objectives, nothing.
Great. So I really like what you do here. I like that you move into the side and you maybe threaten a W, because there is nothing to play for on the map right now. So it's totally okay to not hard push the wave. I would have probably not hard pushed it, right? But that's okay, totally fine. Doesn't really matter too much. We want to get close towards our Dusk and Dawn. We see that our Trundle's currently getting engaged upon on top side. So this is fine to hard push, and we can then hit a plate potentially. Really nice. Beautiful. We're getting close towards our item, and Dragon spawning soon. This is a decent hard push into move. Fight becomes pretty hard right now. I'm glad that you don't send it here. We push one more wave, and we reset for Dusk and Dawn. Great stuff. So, are you strong enough to fight Drake right now?
I feel like I am, but I don't know about the team.
Okay, you definitely are. And I think you can make the difference. You're that strong that you're going to be okay. Here, I think if you just push mid and then you move first, this dragon is extremely, extremely free. I would have swapped the sweeper here because there's going to be some action. And one thing that we really like is we like blocking off enemy vision so that they don't know what we're actually doing on the map. We're going to get perma prio. We'll never die to ganks anyway because of how fed that we are. So sweeper is definitely the right choice for you.
Okay.
I really like this. It's good that you move in. This is phenomenal. Great. Not bad. I like this. I like your target selection onto the Caitlyn. I think this was all quite good. And I think that this is an extremely free win if you just keep fighting here. Precious right? They just got chunked. They used all their resources onto this brand and to this Graves. So after you kill this Caitlyn, I think you should full combo this Wukong here. With your EQ right now.
I was thinking about it, but I was scared of Xerath, honestly.
Okay. How come you're scared of him?
Just a lot of CC. His E and then Thresh. I guess I didn't notice Thresh's mana, and I don't know if Wukong's are.
Right. So that's really interesting, right? Because I think that's one of the problems that we see a little bit in this fight. Is if I look at this fight, you're completely lock camped here, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So all this information right here, it's not really super important for you fighting. And what happens is that we miss the Wukong R, right? We miss a lot of other information in this fight, and that makes it very hard for us to then reassess if this fight's good or not. We're going to keep that in mind. Nice trade there. So have you ever played Wukong? Have you ever seen, what do you know about Wukong?
I never played, but I mean, I know generally what all of his abilities do.
Okay. What's his identity as a champion? What does Wukong want to do? How does his champions play?
Probably, I mean, just go in and get a good R on as many champs as he can.
There we go. That's something already. Yeah, Wukong is extremely R reliant. Without R, Wukong is not a good champ. Okay, he's extremely R reliant. We also know that his first item spike is really massive for him. Triforce. Now, what we have to understand is that at this point in the game, he doesn't have either yet. Because he just used R, and he's not strong enough to have a full Triforce on just yet. He might have it now after his reset. It looks like he has it now. He looks fucking strong right now.
Okay.
But beforehand, he doesn't. So what I want to do here is I want to go back to this position the moment we come back from base and see if we gather the information properly. Because all of this information allows us to understand if the fight's good or not. All right, so let's go a little bit back here. Okay, so he does already have Triforce. So he's actually quite strong right here. We see that this guy also has a full item, so this guy's also quite strong. Enemy bot lane is also quite strong. That's totally fine. I like still that you went to this Caitlyn. And I still think that after this position, you could have sent it. But Wukong already having Triforce, it's a pretty big deal. It's a pretty big piece of information to gather. Were you aware of that during the game?
All I know is Wukong was scary.
Wukong was scary.
I just know that he was always on Graves, and
okay.
I just remember this drag, we tried like 4 times and it never happened.
Okay, so let's understand the most important principle that we have when it comes to League of Legends, right? League of Legends as a whole is a fighting game. So what we are trying to do is we're trying to create the most advantageous fights possible. Because of course there's always an execution part of it, but the macro part of League is basically how do we create the most favorable fighting conditions? One of the easiest way to create good fighting conditions is creating a number advantage. fighting 4v3, really, really, really easy to fight. Getting a big ultimate spell, really easy, makes the fight incredibly easy. Getting a key summoner makes the fight incredibly easy. So our biggest tool as Echo here, with us having so much lane power and us dominating this Seraph, is basically creating infinite amount of number advantages. We're always going to be first moving before the Seraph. So what I would do here is, after we see this position where our Graves is currently not on Dragon yet, it's not your job to start it, it's this guy's job to start it. I am currently standing right here under the enemy turret, canceling Zara's base, and making sure that this wave then gets pushed in immediately, so he's forced to respond to that fast. And then when he's responding to that, and he was on 0 resources trying to come in, right, the fight's already won because they are numbered down. But what happens is that we do not push out that wave, we do not cancel Zara's reset, and then we enter through bot here. And I think Zareth has an easy time now entering because he got the reset off. He deployed through bot, and that's how he actually was able to play out this fight. Make sense?
Yep.
Great. Another key thing to do in these fights is to let them come into you. What you want to abuse as an assassin especially is your angle, right? What we saw in the previous fight, you got this killer angle onto the Caitlyn. She immediately died. That's what your champ is really good at. Look at how you approach the fight right here. You're on vision, jumping onto the enemy support tank, into CC chain, into solo insta-death, right? So what we should do is we should drag this dragon out as a team, right? Dragon should be out right here. We should have this wave pushed. And imagine if we come from this angle right here. We don't have to send it, right? We can just threaten. We can always jump over the wall. Or we come from this angle right here. We sit in the bush in the fog of war. You let them come in deep. And then when they're in deep, that's when you full send it.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yep.
Okay, great. Let's show an example.
I guess one thing that's always a question for me is sometimes you have to like push and roam and you want to be there first.
Yeah.
And then other times you want to push, but then find an angle.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to know whether it's better to push first and then be there first, or to just be there first. So that way you can find an angle.
Isn't it the same thing? If you think about it, right? The reason we are there first is so that we can get a good angle and we don't have to walk over vision into them.
Yeah, I think that's what happened that first time when you said I should be there first, is when I walked down to drag and then came back to the midwave. You said I should have gone to the midwave first. Yeah, I think that was the difference. It's like I just don't know if I should go first and be there so that way we have the number advantage. Yeah. Or if I should push wave and then, because even if I did push the waves there, then I would have been there at the same amount of time. So there wouldn't have been much of a number advantage. It would have just been all of us there.
That's a really good point. The benefit, what you can do is, because you're stronger than him, you can push him out. You can make it impossible for him to get in. Because if you isolate yourself with this arrow, we both know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
You're going to get destroyed. So that's you use your pressure to kind of bump him away in that sense. Especially if you're on the fog of war and they don't know where you're at. That's when it's real easy for you to then find a good angle, and plus make it impossible for the enemy to then move in. So this is the power of finding a good angle. I'm just going to speed it up for you. Right here, I'm sitting in the fog of war. The enemy now gets in. When someone overextends, in this case, the Aurelian Soul overextends. He doesn't know that I'm here. Those eyes on me are bugged. We just win the fight before it even starts. Great. Now, after this dragon, what happens is that we threaten a Baron, right? So what I do as an assassin is I actually start sitting on this side, right? Instead of hitting the Baron. That's not my job. So I sit on the side. I wait for them to overcommit. And the moment they overcommit, that's when I full send it on the enemy carry. So you see, I don't even pull the trigger right now. I wait for them to overcommit. And once they're too deep, that's when I send it.
Yeah.
Okay, great. This was a tough death. Very tough death. Makes the game really hard. Does look like your top lane is destroying the Scion. That is extremely good. So in this position, right, let's view this spot a little bit more clear. What I need you to understand is that each wave that you push out is a set amount of time that you have to then make a play. So if you catch the wave right here, the next time that you need to answer the wave is when the wave enters the neutral state with this wave coming in. So if you catch the wave right here, that's a pretty late time of you catching the wave. What I would love for you to do is I would love to use this small turn to just place a ward. Don't start Drake on this turn yet because your brand's also in base. But instead, take this next mid lane wave extremely deep under this guy's turret. So you basically cheat more time for yourself to move because you take the wave before a lot earlier already. Make sense?
Okay, yeah.
It's time to swap up the lane assignments. You really like going to the side lane as Echo. We don't like laning into multiple people. We want to isolate. We want to isolate ourselves with enemy laners. And I would send the Kai'Sa over into mid, generally around the 14, 15 minute mark. And then I go into the side lane so that we're then in a position where we can actually progress the game. Right now, we're very useless here. So I would use this opportunity to reset, get yourself to full HP. You're an Echo. You need to dive into the enemies. You need to be high HP. If you're not high HP, you're not a threatening champion. Because one CC ability means that you can't get your ult off, and then you're immediately neutralized. So the moment you drop low, find a reset opportunity, swap up the lane assignments.
Okay. Is the whole like 14, 15 minute swap for, I don't know what the purpose is for that. Sometimes it's because the tower is gone, and that makes sense. But
good
like,
question.
There's no tower gone, so I don't know why.
Yeah, really good question. Okay, so generally speaking, I already swap a lot earlier. I generally swap around minute 12, 13 most of the time. Why? Why do I swap? Well, it's all about getting priority and control around areas so that we can create favorable fighting conditions. Okay, so let's think about it. Let's theorize a little bit, and let's go to Rifkit. So the moment you guys have quests set up, one thing you really want to do is you want to get your support over to mid. Why is support around mid way more strong than support around bot? Simply put, vision around mid is just way more important than vision around bot. Because vision around mid means vision on both sides of the map, right?
Yeah.
Great. So that's why you move your support over to mid. That's why it makes it a lot easier for you to get mid control. And mid control is the key to getting side control as well. That's also why we sent the bot laner over here. Because what happens if the bot laner is now laning up against a fucking mid laner who's 2 levels higher? The bot lane is going to get permanently pushed in by the mid laner. The mid laner has then perma-free move timer into mid to help with securing vision around mid. Okay? What we also identify is that most mid laners take TP. You don't in this case, which is fine. And if you have TP in the side, and the AD carry doesn't have TP in the side, headshot. Very easy to play on the Rift Herald, for example, and create a number advantage. And that's just a complete headshot for a game state. So what you can do is you can then move to bot as Echo, and you're going to beat the living crap out of this Caitlyn because you're 3 levels up and 4 kills up. So you're going to always get prio. And then your bot lane is going to move into mid, and they're going to get prio because they're laning versus the Xerath here. And then what happens is that you're in a position where you get and mid push and bot push, and it's incredibly easy for you to play the game. And if the enemy support answers you on bot, great, no problem. You just sack bot push, but you trade up mid push for it, and you can still contest because you're strong enough anyway. And you just sack bot push for mid push, which is worth.
Okay.
Makes a bit more sense now?
Yeah.
Good. So good time to base. And I love that you swap up the lane assignments here. So the way that we win the game, in this case as Echo, is by pressuring through side. We have a double winning side. We have, of course, Trundle winning into Sion, and we destroy the Xerath in the side lane. So, that's a very bad flash. Very greedy. Okay, and one of the key things that we need to do is we need to make sure that we start matching up against the Xerath, and Trundle matches up against the Sion. And if that is going to be the lane assignments, we are extremely happy because Trundle always beats Sion because Trundle can just ult him, and we will always beat Xerath. If this swaps up, it becomes a lot harder to play out the mid game. So keep these lane assignments the way that they are, and then what you can do is you can play through having side lane push, pin Xerath down by forcing him to respond to waves, and that's your biggest strength in this game. That's how you win as Echo.
Just to keep pushing side.
In this game, yeah. Right. There's also games where you play versus Akali or Silas and they blast you. That's when you got to be a little bit more creative and you move. But if you get perma sidewave prio and you win the isolated 1v1, the best thing you can do is just keep pinning them down. Keep pressuring.
Okay.
And what you're doing here is you're taking a fight on equal terms because you didn't make him respond to the side lane wave. You have one of the biggest advantages in the game. You can force someone to respond to the side wave. Right? And if you use that advantage, you're going to make it impossible for them to ever get winning fights. Very hard and dangerous fight here. They've got a really strong team fighting comp, right? If you look at their champions, they've got the Xerath, they've got the front to back with Caitlyn, they've got Wukong, which is a really strong team fighter, and they got Sion, who loves to team fight. We have a very strong side lane comp. Assassin side lane, isolated side laner here. So this is the way that we should play. If we start team fighting, this game is going to be a mess because we're playing into these guys' strengths.
Right.
Great. Zverev just used his TP. Fantastic. What I would do right now is I would move back into Bolt and I would start chipping away this turret here. Because he can't play the game, the Zverev, in the isolated 1v1. This is going to force people to respond to you in the side. It's going to drag people to the side. Now you do get a giga angle here. Great fucking flank. Love it. Well played. So this was good. Great fighting, dude. Really nice fighting. We keep our ult, which is also nice, and we push mid turret. Great stuff. Okay, so I would go back into the side lane. What is your thought process moving into mid here? What's going through your mind?
Usually I do like going through bot. I think I saw somewhere something about pushing through mid or just walking through mid because it's a shorter lane, so you get there faster. And then I can go up to Baron because that's kind of where everyone's hovering and see if I can get a pick or something before like we start the objective.
Okay. So I think that is good in some situations, right? But not in all. And the time that I go through mid is if the side lane wave is actually extremely deep, right? So I can't really move in there. So it's too deep for me to go in there safely. That's when I go through mid. I set a vision with the team, and that's when I move into the side. But in this specific situation, we already have vision control of the top side of the map. The top wave is pushing into us, so I'm immediately deploying into top, okay? Because it's faster. Because the moment you enter jungle or you move away from the isolated lane, your home guards deplete. So in this case, I definitely want to deploy true side. And then play with the mindset to make them respond. Great angle onto the Caitlyn. Absolutely fantastic. But it looks like a very challenging fight here. Purely because we're playing towards the enemy's strengths, right? This is what they want. We're not leveraging the side lane.
Yeah.
We go through mid again. We immediately fish for picks. I'm going to give you a very simple learning objective, mate. But this learning objective is going to completely change your entire mid game. Like, completely change your entire mid game. And the way that I want you to view it right now is you're currently playing the game. If you look at this like a pendulum, right?
Yep.
This is where you're at right now, where you're like perma fighting. And you are perma deploying through mid. You're basically never going through side. The plan for the next couple of weeks for you is to just swing the pendulum to the other direction and see what this feels like. So what I want you to try to do a little bit more is I want you to try to move a little bit more into the side lane and play with the mindset. It's just purely a mindset thing to force people to respond to wave states and pin them down into the turret. And the moment something happens, that's when you move, okay? And that's when you can leverage your isolated strength and you can move at a time when actually something's happening. You can create a number advantage. And you don't have to be there like extremely early if there's no neutral objective, right? If there's a neutral objective, by all means, be early after you push out the side wave. So you force someone to respond and then you can sit on an angle. But if there's no neutral objective, you don't need to be early. You can always play cleanup as Echo. Right? You're a great cleanup champ. Very, very fast, very mobile, great damage. Okay? Try this. Experiment with this for the next couple of weeks and see what happens. Purely play the entire mid game, or like the moment you've got like your wave clear breakpoint and you move into the side lane, you're going to start thinking, I want to make them respond to my waves. I want them to respond to my waves. Make them respond to my waves consistently.
Okay.
And see what happens. That's a good first step. In the review, what I want you to do is I want you to go over 2 major team fights that you lost. And I want you to break those down to the micro-macro framework. Have you ever heard of that one?
I have, because I watched your videos.
There we fucking go. Amazing. I'm going to help you out even more, okay? We got a beautiful article here on the website, which is called Reviewing 101. And in this, we have on the bottom here, we got the micro-macro review method. This is what I want you to apply. I want you to look at your micro. How could you have used your spells better? How could you have got more value of your spells and dealt more damage? But also, how could you have positioned so that you could maybe find better targets? Really look at how could you have gotten more out of your kit in these fights. And then you also want to break it down to macro and ask yourself, was it a smart fight to take? Did I make someone respond to the waves beforehand? Was I able to create a number advantage? If not, how comes? What could I have done differently to create a better condition? Those are the questions to ask yourself to then basically solve each fight that was lost as a like mini puzzle.
Yeah, I guess one question is, if I'm pushing out a wave first and my team is constantly losing a 5v4 because I'm pushing first, do I just keep doing it and try to get tower, or do I like switch it up and try to be there first?
Good question.
And hover the objective.
Good question. For now, make sure that you force them to respond to your sideline waves, okay? And see what happens. So let's just let your team die for now and see what happens. Okay. You want to keep in mind that where we're going with this pendulum is not the optimal state, okay? We're just going to go to the fuck around and find out stage because you need to feel what the other side feels like and looks like. And then the moment you feel this for a couple of weeks, that's when we're going to go back to the center. And you now understand what this looks like. You understand what this looks like. So you can balance it a lot better, okay? But this is an incredibly good question. And I want you to hold on to this because is good to then figure out what the optimal move was when something like that happens. So for that, and for team fights that you struggle to win and you struggle to review those yourself, you're going to clip those, you're going to send it in the VOD questions channel, and that's where we can then help you out. And one of the coaches will give you some feedback in that channel onto the specific situations. And by doing this, that's when you're actually going to start seeing the different plays that you could have made, and your improvement's going to be way faster.
Okay.
Great. Do you know how to use the VOD questions? Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Amazing, man. Any other questions for me?
No, that was it.
Great, man. Great session. Thanks for coming by. And if you do have any other questions, mate, don't be shy to hit me up, okay? My DMs are open.
Okay. Thank you.
Awesome, mate. Good luck in the games.